Here with his insight on Tuesday and the latest developments on the campaign trail, Steve Schmidt, Scripps News political contributor and founder of the Warning podcast and Substack newsletter. Steve, welcome back. Our Monday morning date continues. Always good to see you. Let's start with, I think, the biggest story of the day by far, and that's what the Supreme Court is potentially poised to do in less than an hour from now and decide this ballot access issue, which obviously stems from a case in Colorado, but I would imagine a decision would apply to the entire country and what states can or cannot do with their ballot when it comes to Mr. Trump, which I think is where our last interview ended on this point, but here we are today. What's your gut sense of what you think this court will do and how it shapes the election?
Reading the tea leaves from the oral arguments, I think it's almost certain that the court is going to rule that Donald Trump cannot be disqualified from these ballots in the way that he was in the state of Colorado, and this will be a closed issue. He will be on the ballots. He will be the Republican nominee. He is the standard bearer of the party of Abraham Lincoln, Eisenhower, and Reagan. It's over.
And the court, let's face it, can't stay out of the headlines because obviously the potentially bigger decision was the fact that they took the presidential immunity case. And obviously the narrative before that was, well, the immunity case, really, there's no solid argument. They're going to let the lower court ruling stand on that, and they're not going to really touch that. Instead, they're like, no, give it to us. We want it all. And then we'll have oral arguments toward the end of April. The idea that this Supreme Court, much like we saw in 2000, is about to play the most direct role in an American presidential election since 24 years ago. What does that tell you? Was it unavoidable on some level? And what does it say about the health of democracy?
Well, it is unavoidable on some level, and it's unavoidable at this level, is that we are in, as a matter of reality, a constitutional crisis, because all of the behaviors that have precipitated this heretofore have never happened. And when a president attacks the foundation, really the cornerstone of the country's way of life, and says, I'm above the law, I can do anything I want, with his lawyers arguing, so can he use SEAL Team 6 to assassinate anybody who ticks him off on any given Tuesday? And the lawyer comes back and says to the court, absolutely, he has absolute immunity for everything. So this issue, now that it has been asserted, cannot be ignored. It must be dealt with at the highest level. And so you'll have a court now really undermine in the most profound way imaginable almost 250 years of the rule of law, of American independence, in a declaration that the president is in fact an emperor, a king, a majesty who resides above the temporal things. And so this is a profound decision, but it's being brought to the court by the conduct of a former chief executive and somebody who wishes to be president again. And all of these issues in the end are unavoidable. They can't be wished away. They're happening. And the Supreme Court in the end is one of the three co-equal branches of government that we have that settles these matters when norms erode, and we have to look at the firm boundary lines in the balance of power and the sustainment of the checks and balances, which is in the end what this is all about.
It's just striking to me that in taking up that immunity case, the Supreme Court has implicitly or explicitly sent a message that the President of the United States being above the law is an open question that needs to be settled, as opposed to, we all know the answer here. The answer is no, move along. And that's not the message they've sent. But the bigger picture here, too, and I think this is the line that as a country we're trying to walk, and it's damn hard, is that on the one hand, you can't treat Trump differently because our justice system should work one way for everybody. And if you treat him differently, then it feeds the narrative that they're persecuting me and they're only doing this, I'm running for president. But on the flip side, he is the former president. He is different, and people do feel like they want some answers as to his guilt or not, or innocence when it comes to these crimes before we go to November and vote to potentially put him back behind the Resolute desk. But that's a hard line to walk, and we're stumbling, it seems like, in walking that line and losing trust in institutions as we make that stumbling, awkward walk.
Well, I think the important thing to understand here is with regard to the criminal trials, and I don't take a backseat to anybody as a vociferous critic of the former presidents. That being said, it obligates me as a critic and as an American to be among the most stalwart defenders of his criminal rights. Donald Trump is a criminal defendant, and he is innocent until proven guilty. He's afforded the same rights in trial as any American is. And that trial schedule, justice as administered by the courts, is not attached as a matter of reality, right, to the political schedule, right? They exist on separate tracks. The fact that they overlap is a function that it took the Justice Department 3 years to figure out that it needed to bring a prosecution for various conduct that took place in 2021. That being what it may be, the fact that he's a former president, that he has all the legal representations necessary to explore every avenue that's conceivable for his defense, we find ourselves in this place where somebody facing 90 felony counts is on the edge of being the Republican nominee, and then ultimately maybe being tried during the general election. So we're in unprecedented territory. This has never happened in the country. This is something that you saw in what Americans derogatorily referred to for over a century as banana republics. But what we see is a real degradation within the norms of the system, again, caused by conduct. And the reality is the justice system is grinding through this, but the political decision is not in the hands of the jury. It's in the hands of the American people who will vote in the election. And these are two distinct issues, and all of these issues are colliding and coming together with a lot of turbulence, a lot of tension, because of the extraordinary accumulating circumstances that are colliding here 7 years into an ongoing story that has turned into a real ongoing story of decay and stress within the oldest constitutional republic in the world.
And on that note, we'll end it there. Scripps News political contributor Steve Schmidt, thanks so much, as always, for a great conversation and for your insights.
Yeah, my pleasure.
We'll be back with more.